So this episode of the Sport and Heritage podcast, it's another Welsh Sport and Heritage themed episode. So Sport and Heritage were at the National Esiteddfod in Pontypridd for the first time in an official capacity. The Eisteddfod was in Ynys Angharad Park, a venue itself that has a long and rich sport and heritage. The Eisteddfod visiting Pontypridd for the first time since 1893, visiting the county borough for the first time since 1956. And as I said, we were keen to be there to celebrate the sport and heritage of Pontypridd and the surrounding Rhondda Cynon Taf valleys. The series of talks was opened with a talk delivered by myself, but on behalf of Kevin Dix. Kevin doesn't speak Welsh, so I delivered it on his behalf. And it was about the sport of wallball, also known as handball, lots of other names as well. In the course of preparing that, I had the pleasure of heading up to Nelson, which is just a couple of valleys over in an eastward direction, which, as you'll hear, is very much the cradle of this folk sport. And so this was recorded in advance of the National Esiteddfod, hence we're talking about us going to it and about what was to come at the time. But nevertheless, I think you'll find it an interesting talk. We are just off one of the main drags through Nelson. I drove up from Cardiff, up the Rhymney Valley to Ystrad where I picked up Kevin Dix. We headed a little bit west to the town of Nelson, which is really important in not only the heritage and the status of handball, again we're going to learn a little bit more about, not just in Wales, but nationally, internationally, I've come to learn through liaising with Kevin, who's written the authority on the heritage of the game in Wales. Kevin, welcome to the podcast.
Well, thanks for coming along, and thanks for your interest in handball. It was built in 1864 by the landlord of the Royal Oak Public House, which you can see just across the road from the handball court. And he built it to poach the trade away from the nearby Nelson Inn, which is the pub just up the road. What happened was the Nelson Inn, it had a thriving handball trade on this handball court, but it was in a very small yard, and the crowd used to encroach onto the playing surface and spill out into the street. And the landlord could see this from his property, and he realised that if he built a bigger ball court where the spectators could stand all around the outside of the court and watch the matches, then he would poach the trade, all the money would go into his till, and he would also do a service to the community as well. And that's why this handball court is still standing, because he built it away from his public house, and he built it and it became the village square.
And still performing a public service. It's the only court remaining in Wales, am I right?
This is the last one. There's still some skeletal remains in Llantrisant, but I mean they are skeletal. You couldn't play a game. And there was a beautiful old court down in Jersey Marine that was built the same year as this one in 1864, but sadly that one's lost to the bulldozers about 20 years ago. So this now is the last handball court in Wales, and it's been continuously played on since it was constructed.
Oh, that was hell of a
That sound that you can hear, the sound of the ball hitting the wall, is the sound of a heartbeat of an old Welsh sport that's got remarkable resilience here at Nelson. And all the history of the sport seems to funnel down into the three walls of this court.
There's men and women here. There's young, there's old, which I think is encouraging as well. There's somebody who maybe we'll get a word from a little bit later after he's finished playing. He's in what looks like some sort of official, is that like a Welsh shirt,
Welsh
international
Wallball
shirt, Wallball shirt. And one of the reasons we're doing this is because you and I will be at the Eisteddfod in Ynys Angharad Park in Pontypridd next week. You have very kindly written a talk that is going to be one of three that I've curated for visitors to the Eisteddfod on behalf of Sport and Heritage. There'll be Welsh language talks. You don't speak Welsh.
No,
but I will be doing that on your behalf. But you will be there to provide some Q&A, and we'll be talking about the rich heritage of not just Welsh handball, but what you call is the heartland of the game, namely the local authority area that we call Rhondda Cynon Taf, but the Rhondda Cynon Taf valleys in the heart of South Wales Coalfield.
Nelson may be the last outpost of handball in Wales, but Rhondda Cynon Taf was the actual heartland of the sport. There were so many courts there in the Cynon Valley, in Aberdare, Cwmaman, Cwmbach, for example. Let me see, the Eisteddfod court was a very famous court. Porth had the most famous handball court in South Wales, was in Porth, in front of the Tynewydd Inn, and Ystrad Rhondda at the Star Inn had a handball court, a 3-wall court, much the same size as this one. So it was widespread throughout Rhondda Cynon Taf. It was definitely the heartland of the sport, and there were some amazing characters and handball players came from Rhondda Cynon Taf, and the best ones played on this court here at Nelson. They were normally for the Welsh Championship. For example, players at Porth and Nelson enjoyed a rivalry that went on for over 60 years, until the last Rhondda player played here, let me see, around about 1923 I think it was, and by then the Rhondda courts had been demolished. Some of these courts, they fell by the wayside because of the industrialisation when deep mining came to the valleys, because many a stone built in just got swept away and was replaced by bigger hotels. But because Henry Roberts, the landlord of the Royal Oak, had built his ball court away from the public house, when it was rebuilt in 1913, the handball court stayed intact.
Right. Whereas
many other handball courts disappeared because they were all on the side walls of the public house. For example, there used to be one in Gelligay. That one disappeared when they built a brand new hotel there. Unfortunately, that was the fate of many a ball court.
I'm looking at this structure, and it's not particularly complicated, is it? I mean, therein lies probably one of the reasons why the game became so popular in Wales in the 19th century, because it is literally what I'm watching here, people striking a small ball with their hand against the wall. So you can see why it would spring up in lots of places.
It's a simple hand to ball to wall game.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that. For example, one wall handball, or what they call now wallball, could be easily put up in any sports centre. It's so simple, and it's a very low impact sport as well. There's very few injuries in the sport.
And if it wasn't a sports centre, it would avoid what's just happened. The ball has just ran off down the high street.
Yeah. That's the thing about playing in Nelson. The sport is a little rough around the edges.
Is there ever a risk?
It's got its own character.
Is there ever a risk that the ball runs in to the lounge at the Royal Oak?
It has happened. The most common accident with the ball is when it goes onto the road, it gets hit by a lorry and disappears half a mile up the road.
Yeah, of course. Yeah,
we've known it to go up the road, get hit by a car and come back down
the road.
So,
and if you timed it right, it would get on this Harris coach, 36, which is probably going to where? Where's that going now? Quakers Yard or something, is it? Bargate, is it?
This is what handball's all about. The pub's open. It's a lovely summer's evening, play handball, just a few quiet beers.
The weather helps. I mean, to what extent is it like, I don't know, cricket or tennis, where it can be susceptible to the rain? Is this a game for all elements as well?
It is a little bit dangerous to play it when it's been raining because of the surface is a little slippery.
Yeah.
You can injure yourself. It's best when it's dry. Well, we used to go out here with one of those squeegees, so we could get the water off. But I don't know what's happened to that. It's around somewhere.
And I can see some flags at the top of the court. I'll probably use that picture on the.
They had an international tournament just a couple of weeks ago. We had some Irish players come to play handball. There's a lot of handball courts in Ireland. They got an Irish Handball Council runs it, and they love coming to this court because it's the only one in Wales. And in fact, the court attracts players from all over the world. We've had Americans coming here. The Australian handball team go into Canada to play in the World Championships. They diverted their whole tour just to come and play on this court before they went to the
So literally where we're standing now, this it's not a big court either, is it?
No.
You know, in terms of space, has international prominence and significance.
Yes, we had a player from New Zealand playing on it a month ago. But American handball players they love coming to this court as well, so they can tick a box and say we've played handball in Wales and I've played on that court.
Off the bucket list. This is the Augusta
Yes.
of handball, or the Aintree, or the Wembley Stadium. Yeah, the Lords. We've heard a little bit about the past and the heritage of the game.
Yeah.
Like I said, I can see someone here wearing a more obviously modern
Welsh
Wallball
Welsh
Association.
Wallball
So there's a distinction there to make in terms of terminology from handball to wallball. What's the story there?
Yeah, the World Handball Council, I think it's around about 10, 12 years ago, rebranded one wall handball, which is what we can see now, as wallball. Now the reason they did that is to gain international recognition and perhaps competition in the Olympics, for example, where they already have a handball in the Olympics, where they throw a ball into like five-a-side goals on an indoor court, for example, whereas this is now called wallball so that they can make that distinction between the two games. So they formed the Welsh Wallball Association. Because I'm an old-timer, I can't help calling it handball. It's just stuck.
Yeah.
But I've been playing on this court since 1969, so...
Old habits will die hard,
yeah,
for sure.
Exactly.
So wallball is more the contemporary...
Yeah.
Right,
But we still got three-wall handball on here. We can play two games on it, the one wall and the traditional Welsh game of the three-wall handball.
Three-wall.
So I hope you're going to have a game later.
Yeah. Well, I'll try. Fortunately, this is an audio, not a visual medium, so there'll be no evidence of me playing. Just in terms of the association and sort of future plans, because one of the things that we say on this podcast is, the heritage of tomorrow is created today. And I'm looking again. As I said, I'm looking at women. I'm looking at youngsters.
Oh, they're making
playing, watching, taking an interest.
They're making great strides because what they've already done, they've done something that the Welsh Handball Association couldn't do, and that's they've constructed another court in the next village in Treftadaeth, in the community centre. So that's how easy it is to put up one of these. So they put up some plyboard and whatever and marked it out in the community centre. So they got an all-purpose playing surface to play throughout the winter, in the winter evenings.
Yeah.
So it's enabled them to stay sharp because they compete internationally. In fact, some of them are going to the World Championships, which I believe is in Limerick towards the end of August. So they're making great strides, and they've got women's tournaments and girls' tournaments, all sort of age groups, and they even let some of the oldies play, like myself. So.
Well, yeah, it would be remiss of me not to allow you to make reference to your achievement a couple of years ago.
They made a mistake of letting me play doubles, and it did help, but my doubles partner was half my age, but we actually won it. So I became Welsh champion at age 64.
Well done.
Which I don't know how it happened. I was quite astonished, to be quite honest. But there you are. It just goes to show, if you hang on in there, the opportunities will arise.
Yeah, Llongyfarchiadau, congratulations on that.
Oh, thank you.
If anybody wanted to know a little bit more about the history, the heritage of the game, then what would be the best way? Maybe get in touch with you, email you. What would be the best way?
Get in touch with the Welsh Wallball Association. They got their own websites. I think they're on all sorts, TikTok and on everything. They're on the lot,
So a very modern association then, with the social media and stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, so just made my handball, wallball debut. Inauspicious, I think, is the best way to describe it. And hopefully nobody was filming that. I've got Michelle with me here, who was playing in doubles when I arrived. Michelle, welcome to the podcast.
Hello, so my name is Michelle. I live in Nelson with my partner who I was playing doubles with. We're training for the Valencia, which is a mixed doubles tournament. It's the first one, so we're in training for that.
It's Tuesday nights.
Tuesday nights, Thursday nights they have formal adult training, and Wednesdays for the youth,
so
although there's a strong youth present.
How long have you been playing? Because if your efforts are anything compared to mine, I've made you look like you've been playing for years, I'm sure, but how long have you been playing?
I've been playing for about 2 years, but I was like you when I started. Never played it before. Like, I knew the court was here, but didn't know it was, to play a game on. It was important for me and like other ladies to start playing because we needed to build that following and for the youth. and for women, because there's never been a women's team before.
And I know from Kevin's book and from sort of speaking to Kevin, very much traditionally back in the heyday of the game, in sort of like the 19th century, it was very much a game that men played.
Yeah.
Women might have helped arrange things like that. But more modern day, more and more women are playing, because there's women and girls here.
Yeah, and that was what was important to us. And the youth have been playing, but the youth are now playing with the women and the adults. So, they progress a little bit quicker than us. They've got more time on the court, but it is really important, and we want to encourage a strong women following, because when we participate across Europe, there is a lot of women. So, we need to be able to take a team out to represent, a women's team out to represent Wales when we go there. So I'm living in Nelson now. I'm not from Nelson originally, so I wasn't, and I took the role on as secretary. So obviously I've been trying to get a sponsorship and emailing out, and we've been going into schools to deliver sessions on wallball and its heritage. So I've learned a lot since not only playing, but joining this kind of association.
Well, I'll let you carry on with your rehydration, because it is warm as well.
No, this is warm as well.
And I wasn't playing for that long, and I've worked up a sweat. So, best of luck with the efforts generally, with developing the women's game, specifically in the Valencia.
Yeah, great. Thank you.
Fun chat for this episode. He's got a glass in his hand, well earned, I will say. Welcome to the podcast, Chair of the Welsh Wallball Association. It's Robert Dix, welcome.
Yeah, hi. Basically, I'm the chairman. The people of Nelson have put their trust in me to bring a face to the wallball of Wales. I've been in contact with Nev, and we've come a long way in the last 2 years. Irrelevant to the history of the game, the court's been here since just past the 1850s. 1864, so that's
You're going to have to learn that, aren't you?
So Castle Cork was built in 1890.
Yeah.
So it gives you into perspective what was going around at the time.
Yeah.
I think the ironworks in Caerphilly was 1863, 1870. You'll have to double check, quote me on that one, but I know it was something like 1750 to there.
The Caerphilly Ironworks were begun in 1765 by Anthony Bacon, a native of Whitehaven in Cumberland. But it was under Bacon's successor, Richard Crawshay, that the ironworks rapidly grew to become an important producer of iron products, particularly during the 18th century. Several generations of Crawshays owned and ran the ironworks until in 1875, with R.T. Crawshay at the helm, who was reluctant to switch to the production of steel. The works closed. So, yeah, well done, Robert. Pretty close.
It was on the side of the Nelson Inn.
This is the new ball court.
They played on the side of the Harp in Caerphilly.
Will this forever be the new handball court, even though it's 160 years old?
Yeah, it's the only castle in Wales that hasn't got a name, I think.
So, Robert, in terms of the association and going forward, obviously we've heard from Kevin about, or Nev, as I've come to realise you all know him locally, about the heritage of the game, and we'll hear more about it at the talk of the Eisteddfod. What does a new association that wants to go maybe compete internationally, take teams to different countries, bring countries to compete
so
here?
we've been really successful the last 2 years. So we've fallen in line with the Euro 1 ball system. Dan Grant in London, he hosts the Euro 1 ball, and we are part of that. It's basically a circuit that goes around Europe. We've been to Belgium, we've been to Friesland, the north of Holland. When we first started playing away at these places, we were only winning 1 or 2 games. I think we went to London, I think we took the youth, we got a youth team. It's a really good setup. They're on this court, they live and breathe wallball. You can come down here in the rain, and you'll always see 2 or 3 kids playing.
It doesn't rain in Nelson, surely?
No, it's the desire in the kids, and that's the future of the game, in my opinion.
Yeah.
For them to go to London, to a massive European tournament and come away with gold, that's a fantastic achievement. Kerry John, we've had Sean Nolan come over from Ireland. He's got a lot of gyms over in Ireland, Nolan Fitness. Him and John Joe Shelby, when we first started, they stayed after the weekend on the bank holiday Monday to spend time showing all the kids their techniques and training them and supporting us and offering guidance. We've got new faces now like Little Oxo, Whitney Marshall, Ella, Sadie Ivans. Everyone knows everybody, and we know all our strengths and weaknesses.
So talking to the Irish and then the guys down in London, it's competitive on the court, but by the sounds of it, it's quite collaborative and supportive off it.
Yeah, we feel it's professional. There is 1 or 2 players that are 100% professional.
Wow.
We got top players in the side. and it's great to watch him. The kids look up to him. Andrew Meany, he's just phenomenal. You can ask any one of the players at the moment. I don't think anyone's beaten him in 2 years.
Wow. From
the Welsh team. He's that good. But when we go away, there's players that are much better than him, and it's only because they dedicate their life to training 100%, 7 days a week. Gareth Howard is his doubles partner. So this year, for instance, Jamie Amos have started with us this year. He wasn't with us last year. He actually got to the final of the singles tournament against Christian Camacho from New York.
Okay.
He nearly won it. You know, he had the feeling from the crowd that was here. You had hairs on the back of your neck. He was emotional.
Really?
And on the Sunday then we had the doubles, and then we had Andrew and Gareth Howard, who reached the final of the doubles against John Joe and Sean Nolan. The week before, Sean had won the Japan Open. You know, he was playing on a court and you could see Mount Fiji to his left.
Yeah.
When you're in these large tournaments, the experience that the youth gain is you can't get it. You can't get it in Nelson.
Yeah.
So it's vital for us playing away for these tournaments, and also by us going away, it attracts them to come to us. It was once our national sport.
Yeah.
I know our Welsh language has been taken away from us if we look at the history, but somewhere along the line, I think there's something to do with wallball going missing.
Yeah. Okay. And that concept of like the folk. Wearing the folk sport and a sports connection to working people.
If you look when towards the 1890, that was when most football teams were formed in England and Wales. Around that time, and if you look at the trend, obviously you had World War I then that came into place in 1914. I think a lot of the big players in Wales sadly made it passed away.
Yeah.
There's a lot of debate and there's no proof or history to back us up, but that's what Nev's done. He's searched the lengths and breadths of the country, trying to find evidence of courts.
You're getting a bit pestered as well, Robert, to return and demonstrate your prowess on the court.
You know, for some it's an hobby, for some it's a passion, but you know, it's a free sport, there's free parking, you can spend a day with your family and get fit. If you're on your dinner break and you live local, you can come and have 20 minutes, half hour.
And so if someone's listening to this and I know they're a teacher thinking, I'm looking to introduce someone into school, into college, or they're a potential sponsor or whomever, get in touch with Welsh Wallball Association, get in touch with yourself. I think Michelle, I think she said, is the secretary.
Yeah, that's correct. Michelle Hooper and Lee Tiley, so he's treasurer.
Okay, there's a website presumably.
Yeah, so we've got so we're on Facebook. We're on Instagram, and in my opinion, you know, we've had a young local lad called Alfie. He started playing, and he's obviously he's a brilliant kid. You know, we've got kids who come here with ADHD.
Yeah.
So we will cater for anybody who's willing to play the game. We will support you. The kids will support you. It'd be great to see it grow through the country, really, because London have put 100 courts in every school in central London the last couple of months, and I'm thinking this was once our national sport. And
so that's the vision, just to get it so it grows out of Nelson, it grows out of the valleys, out of South Wales, it gets nationwide.
If we can get it where it once was back in the 1860s, 70s. There's photos in the Royal Oak in Nelson. There's the history since time began there. We had like 1,000 spectators. We've got a photo of a boxing ring on this court from 1904. I'm convinced it's Jimmy Wilde.
Okay.
I'm convinced. I've looked at the stat, but I'm sure. Even for instance, for Tasker Watkins. So he's a local resident of Nelson. He was an ambassador for Welsh rugby. There's a statue of him outside the Millennium Stadium. He's a Brigcelyn boy, born and bred. He's from Nelson. He actually played the game. There's a poem somewhere of where he's in that poem, and it's relating to handball.
Wow.
So yeah, there's a lot of history to be found still on the handball in Nelson. But what I like about it, you look at the faces that pass, and they always see kids here playing, and It keeps them off the streets.
Yeah.
You know, they gel together well.
But they learn life skills as well, isn't it? Through sport and teamwork and camaraderie and discipline and all things like that. I feel that we could carry on for another couple of hours, but as I said, you need to get back on the court. I'm really grateful for your time, Robert. I'm grateful for the welcome as well.
No,
it's
great,
wonderful.
Great.
I brought the weather, obviously. I think that's fair to say.
Yeah, thanks, mate.
And I wish you all the best for the future. As Welsh Wallball Association, I've been trying to get handball. I've been talking about handball so long, and now I've got to get the bêl-law. I will be keeping an eager eye, and I'm hoping to come back up. If you'll have me, if I didn't disgrace myself on my first effort.
We got members of the team that live in Cardiff. Okay. So the Matt Chinnery and his girlfriend Rachel, they just had a child. When we had the last tournament, they came up with a baby Dan, and he had a Welsh Wallball shirt on. It was great. It's great for the community.
Baby Dan might be the only person I might beat at this point in time. Onwards and upwards.
I don't know. If he's anything like his mother, she was playing at 6 months pregnant.
Oh right, okay.
And we all had our hands over our face and eyes. But I think if we can get into that earth, I'd like to see us in that earth games. It is an urban sport, and to see the skateboarding and the BMXing, I think to put us down in Cardiff Bay where they were, demonstrating this, it doesn't take a lot to set up a court. We'd be happy to go anywhere in the country to support anybody to show them how to play it. And
there's definitely a small ask there for
get a league going, maybe.
For the earth, for sure. Robert, I'm really grateful. Best of luck on the court and with the association as well.
Yeah, cheers, mate. Thank you.